So, one of the most important things that you can study on your astrology journey is particularly planetary relationships. Now, your chart is going to be full of aspects, and you can get caught up in those aspects. And yes, a square is a bad angle or a difficult, more challenging, and motivating angle. In opposition will likely show up more so in relationships. And trines and sextiles are, predominantly more positive and easy flowing. That said, we all have harsh aspects and we all have easy aspects, but some of them, of course, can show up in more challenging ways than others. That is why looking at planetary relationships, the planets themselves and their relationship to each other, is of the utmost importance. So there are 9 planets that we use in astrology, or 9 main planetary bodies. The sun and the moon, of course, I know they are not planets, but in astrology we consider them planetary bodies. So the sun and the moon, then we have Mercury, Venus, Mars, then we have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and of course Pluto. So the way that I did this when I first started studying astrology was dividing them into groups. So in the first group, we have our personal planets. These are planets that relate to our inner world, and it's going to be, of course, the inner planets. So the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And I group these into a category of like our inner world, our psyche, and our daily day-to-day behavior. Then we have our social planets, and that's going to be Jupiter and Saturn. And these are planets that represent our role in society, and they rule over things like our growth and our structure or discipline. Then we have our outer or our transpersonal planets, which are, of course, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I also would like to mention that it is very important from my perspective and lens to study the mythology of the planets when you're getting into astrology or you're trying to grasp the meaning of that planetary body. But just for reference, the planets that we know them as are the Roman name, but a lot of times you will find their mythology in Greek mythology. So, for example, Mercury is Roman, whereas Hermes is Greek. Venus is Aphrodite. Jupiter is Zeus. Saturn is Kronos. Neptune is Poseidon. The only planet that stays the same is actually Uranus. Uranus is named the same in both. So if I had to break it down in a way to digest this so that you can learn and like integrate it into, your archetypal understanding of the planets, I would study planet A, then I would study planet B, I would study the mythology, then I would study the psychological expression of both planets. Fifth, I would understand and study the shadow or the more negative qualities to the planetary expressions. And finally, I would study the higher expression or the more evolved planetary expression. So once you have a firm understanding of those core principles when studying the planets, then you can dive into aspects, because aspects are the conversations that the planets are having. But if you don't understand how the planet expresses their energy individually and how they express their energy with each other, because two certain planets might not get along, period. They could be in a trine, but maybe they just aren't planets that get along. Mars and Neptune are one. A lot of times Mars and Neptune, when they're in any aspect, even a trine or a sextile or a positive aspect, it can just not express. I'm not saying it's always going to express bad. It's going to highly depend on the individual, your life path, your life circumstances, your culture, society, all the things. But there are certain planets that get along better than others, or they have a common goal, or they can see common ground, and there are other planets that do not. So these are the foundations of learning planetary relationships. So personal readings for tarot are open in the link in my bio if you guys are interested. Astrology will be opening up soon if you guys are interested in that. Let me know what your sun, moon, and rising is down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Much love.